morning, good evening, good afternoon, or whatever time this stream is finding you. Welcome back to another episode of Recover the Ball with your grateful and gracious host, Cowboy Chris. We got another one, y'all. We got another one in the books. We're going to have another great time, as we always do here on Recover the Ball. And if you don't know, we air the second and fourth Monday of every month. That's how we're rolling with it now. And in between times, you can catch me out on these social media streets trying to learn how to tweet and, my bad, it's the X now, and Facebook and all those other mediums that you can catch me on. And interesting point that I bring up the X, because I always say for this show, we are meeting at the intersection. And that intersection is the intersection of healing, hope, and having a good time. And the healing and hope comes around, you know, the recovery that we have to go through in life, and the hope and having a good time comes around my love and my passion for the Dallas Cowboys. And today, it seems like I think I got another rivalry guest on here today. But of course, we're going to talk more about, you know, just the rivalry in and of itself. But I'd like to welcome to the show a good brother of mine, Dominic Colbert, Coach Nic, affectionately called. How's it going, Nick?
Hey, what's up, Chris?
It's good to see you. Glad you could come on to the show and banter with me for a bit. But before we get to our banter back and forth, I'm always give my faithful following, the Recover the Ball family, the Cowboy Chris updates and takes, and what's been going on with our team and what we're looking like now. And, you know, as I look out into the Western Front, I don't know if y'all remember that book, It's All Quiet on the Western Front. That's what it's really been like for our Dallas Cowboys this offseason. We haven't made too many moves. Other than, you know, a lot of us have been making a mad exodus to a local team here that I ain't gonna mention by any names and whatnot. Well, we had a lot of players come to the Commanders. We signed one linebacker that looks like it's gonna be a good fit for us. And and we got a lot of big contracts coming up, y'all. So I think Jerry Jones and the crew, they're being real patient right now and getting us to, you know, understand we got big money to spend. And we had a 12-win season. We just need to make some minor tweaks, I think what it is. But it is kind of nerve-wracking when you see your team here in the free agency and all these big names going around. But smart money knows that, you know, spend all your money up in free agency anyway. I'm real excited about the draft coming up. That should be a lot of big fun. And if you haven't done it yet, I always encourage my people to do a draft simulator. I've been doing that here for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's been a lot of fun, trying to see, you know, who we may pick at the 24th pick. And what I'm thinking is we might even find ourselves trading down during that time, because it seems like we can get some extra picks because we need some more bodies and we need some more depth. So that looks like what is going to happen. And also we have Coach McCarthy. He spoke at the owners meeting a couple weeks ago, and that was interesting. You know, he sounded like he's you know, all focused in, and he's not worried about being on this last year of his contract like all the big letter networks are talking about, you know. So I like Coach McCarthy myself personally, so I think he's going to do good, and hopefully he can turn this thing around, because I don't think Jerry Jones got too much patience right at this point in time if you don't get this thing turned around sooner than later. But speaking of coaches, you know, I got with me today, you know, it's real interesting. I was thinking about it earlier, that how, you know, in life, you know, a lot of times we have things that we're focused on and that we're trying to get into. I always tell people, you got to get in the game. You got to get in the game. But once you're in the game, it seems like there's nothing more beneficial than to have a coach with you once you're in that game or not. And you know it's important, because the professional and personal development space is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I know people ain't spending their money on nothing. They understand the importance of what it is to have somebody with you, knowing what the game plan is, and kind of help guide you through. And through my travels, I was able to come across a brother who I found to be phenomenal in his teachings, and also just in how he's helped people out in their lives overcome certain obstacles as well. And so with that big introduction, I won't build it up anymore. He's a good brother of mine. Welcome to Recover the Ball, Coach Nic. Good to see you. How's it going, my brother?
Hey, it's going well, man. You know, thanks for having me, even though this is a Cowboy fan show, but I'm not gonna hold it against you.
You're a football fan, you say. So you do follow football.
Yeah, you know, I'm a native Washingtonian, so I'm down with the Commanders.
So you with the Commanders? You with the Commanders? Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't be on a Cowboy show and not
so how did you become a Commander fan?
Genetics.
Okay, you say you're from the DMV.
Yeah, my father in my household were back when they were the R name.
Right. I got you.
And so I just happened to grow up at a time when they started winning championships.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it was easy to be a fan on top of that, right? So when your households are fans and then, your team is winning.
Right.
Because I was just really, like a couple of months ago, I was just trying to remember my earliest memories of the team, right? Playing.
Right. Yeah.
And it was funny because I couldn't think of a time before, I would say, when the 49ers won the first Super Bowl, right?
Okay.
Because then my team won it the next year.
Yeah, right.
So, but prior to that season, I couldn't remember any games or anything.
Yeah.
But ever since that championship season, I remember everything. So winning helps, man.
Right. Yeah. That's how I became a Cowboy fan. I was, early 70s, and they were winning. But I always tell the story. My mom, she was rooting for the Cowboys because she was rooting for something on her pool, but she was actually a Steelers fan. I became a Cowboy fan because I thought my mama was a Cowboy fan, but I just said, okay, well, I'm with them now. I'm just going to go ahead and stick with them. Just go ahead and ride with it and whatnot. But it's funny you mentioned, because it's like, and, I thought of you when I came up with this concept for Recover the Ball, of course, because I was just like, well, let me ask you, let's remove some of the mystery around it.
Okay.
What kind of coach are you?
Okay, all right.
How did you get the name Coach Nic?
All right, so first and foremost, I'm a small business coach, right?
Okay.
So work with, startups, mostly nowadays existing businesses, right? But I've been able to expand my practice, doing it for 29 years now. And so the work is more so now working with organizations that will contract my company, the Coach Nic DC company, to work with their merchants, their small businesses that they support. I do one-offs though, but not that often now. So small business coaching, also professional development coaching.
Okay.
Right. So right now, currently, we have a contract where we're doing professional development for West Baltimore citizens. Right.
Nice.
So there's an initiative to bring middle-class paying jobs to West Baltimore, and so the Coach Nic DC company provides the professional development for those folks to make sure that they have the proper skill sets going into it from a professional standpoint. Because prior to my working with them, they were hiring folks and, they were getting on the phones and then start fussing with the customers and hanging up, and you can't have that. So say, hey, let's put some professional development around this too.
That's how I said in the beginning. I was like, professional and personal development. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
So do it for line level folks to mid managers all the way up to C-suite.
Okay.
And so that's the kind of work that I do, in addition to being a speaker. Right,
yes,
inspiring folks. A trainer. I started off being a trainer before I became the coach. So if you want to know how I got the name Coach Nic, so I guess that's a good segue to it.
Yeah.
Which is I was working for this local nonprofit run by, and it was back in the 90s, right? Dating myself. But it was at that time people were in their 20s, and I was running this. They were doing entrepreneurship training for high schoolers and middle schoolers, and decided to do their own adult program. And I was in college, and I was like, hey, I don't see anything in this curriculum about starting your own business, right? And I even had a meeting with the dean of business, right?
Okay.
And I said, hey, I don't see anything about, learn how to start your own business. So he got up, closed the door, and then sat real close to me. I said, "Oh, what's going on? I'm in trouble, about to get kicked out of school now because I'm bucking the leadership." And he leaned into me. He said, "I'll tell you the truth. If you want to learn how to be a marketing executive or maybe even a CEO of somebody else's company, we'll teach you that. But we don't teach you how to build your own business from scratch. And I'm like, man, this is college. What do you mean?
Right.
He said,
right.
man, find somebody got a business, learn from them. And I'm like, I'm 2 years in. I mean, you just telling me this now? I want some of my money back, man.
Been hoodwinked, bamboozled.
Exactly how I felt. Exactly.
Yeah.
But during that time in the 90s, I mean, the internet was still new, right?
Yeah.
And nobody was doing coaching and business coaching, entrepreneurship training. Now you can get degrees in it now, right?
Yep, exactly.
And now everybody call themselves a coach. Like the pandemic is like unleashed everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, we need some way to make money. Okay, I'm gonna say I'm a coach of this. I'm a coach of that.
Yeah.
And then you go ahead and take one of their classes. Like, no, you're not a coach anyway.
You definitely get what you pay for.
So
sometimes.
Yeah. So for the folks who've been doing it for 20, 30 years, we see the evolution of that industry there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And anyhow, so I volunteered for the organization after I went through their program because I didn't learn much about business for them because they were still teaching adults elementary curriculum. So, but I did get the desire to learn how to teach it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm a kinesthetic learner. So by me teaching it, it made me learn it even more, even better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I would take, I would go out and start little different business ventures, right?
Yeah.
And things that worked, I would write it down, and things that didn't work, I would figure it out and fix it, or I would just left it out. I didn't know at the time I was developing my own entrepreneurship curriculum, my own business performance tools, right?
Yeah.
And so I would insert my own lessons into the lesson plans when I'm teaching, right? Because now think I'm this 20-something-year-old kid, and I'm teaching folks in their 40s and 50s and 60s. So I'm already thinking that, hey, they probably gonna be looking down on me. What do you know, and this and that. So I said I needed something, some kind of experience so I can insert and interject into the classroom that is like, it's real, right? I know what you're going through.
Right.
So that's why I was like, let me do this, let me do that. And those lessons served me well because my style of training, which you've been in classes and stuff, right? It's like I call it a substance with a show, right? Because you gotta teach them real world stuff. I teach no theory. If it hasn't worked for me and the people I work with, then I don't teach it or coach it, right? But then you gotta make it fun. Going back to the pandemic, right? Yeah, all these workshops and all this stuff. And the people, all these credentials, supposed to be all these experts, but they were boring. Right? Just like you got workshop Zoom fatigue. So you got to make it fun and engaging.
A whole bunch of memes came out.
Exactly.
Doing the Zoom memes.
So my classes were always fun, and they always learned, and always was able to connect with them, even though they were my parents' age and generation. I used real world lessons and incorporated into the curriculum, and that's how it was a hit. So we had this 3-month class. So every cohort, 3 months, boom, this one particular cohort. The last day of class, literally the last day of class, they normally having fun and energy. And so I looked at them, and they weren't having fun, no energy. I was like, what's going on, right? And finally, this gentleman who owned a janitorial cleaning company, he said, look, we need help. Help? What do you mean? You had 12 weeks of help. What you mean help? No, we need help after class. I said, like one-on-one coaching. And this lady who ran a nonprofit for seniors said, yes, we need one-on-one coaching. You've been our instructor. You won't be our coach. I said, what? Your coach? And then I was like, wait a minute now. And then the entrepreneur in me kicked in and said, well, are you going to pay me? Right? And they all laughed and said, yeah, we're going to pay you. So I said, I'll be your coach. I said, okay, we're going to call you from here and out. Coach Nic, you Coach Nic. That's where Coach Nic came from, right?
Nice.
And so I started my practice. It was over 26 businesses in different types of industries. And then, and I've been, doing it since then. So, yeah, man, that's how we got going.
And it's so funny you said, that's how you got the name Coach Nic, but you went to school because you wanted to be an entrepreneur. But when you were there, you realized that they didn't have, what it was. They didn't know how to train you to do that. And I can understand that back in the 90s. We probably similar in age group.
We're same age group.
And I remember when I first went to class, when I first went to college, and I was in a business class, and they were going around the room saying, what did you want to do? And so, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, I said, I think I want to do marketing, whatever. But there were two people, and I never will forget this. There were two people that were sitting in that classroom. And this one young lady, she says, I want to start my own business. when I leave here, I'm gonna, and I just remember my heart shaking. Like I felt nervous. Like, dang, you could really start your own. Like the thought of being able to start my own business was just like, I was like, well, how are you gonna get paid? I got, all this fear kicked in. You know what I'm saying? But it makes sense because it was just like, I think it was like the seed that was being planted. And it was like a birth in my mind that like, yeah, you don't have to look to work for somebody if you don't want to. And then another guy said, yeah, I'm going to take over my father's business. I was like, what you mean? Your father got a business? How's that possible? How do you structure that? And then as I went through the courses and the curriculum there in college, I realized exactly what that professor was telling you. They were training me to be of service to somebody else's business. It wasn't that I could be creative or to, go out on my own, like, go out on my own to do something, to establish something for myself, you know what I mean? And I was just like, that was just so weird. And like now when I think about it now, we've come generations where now that, entrepreneurship, like everybody's saying it, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. But, during that time, it was like, almost like a dirty word almost. You would think it was not. But
was.
You seem like it was like born in you.
It was, and I had I'm a man of faith, so I believe everyone has a calling and a purpose behind the calling, whether they accept it or not.
Right.
For me, it was the calling to be an entrepreneur, but the purpose behind it was sparked to me when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
Right? And so I'm literally out riding my big wheel, right? And I just stopped in front of my apartment. So I'm from the hood. I ain't rich. So I stopped in front of my apartment building, and I just looked up in the sky, and I said, Nick, what is it that you want to do when you grow up? I said, I want to be a businessman. This is before I heard the word entrepreneur. Watched a lot of TV. Yeah. And so, in the late 70s, right? Or 80s, you had like Dynasty and all them.
Right. The Carringtons.
Exactly. So you had people.
Want to be Blake.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Blake had the money.
Right.
He had the women. He was old. He used to have the women.
He had the money. Right.
So I was like, he called the shots, be Blake or J.R. Ewing.
Right. Yeah, well, I like that Dallas reference.
See that Dallas reference right there. I was tempted not to say J.R., right? But and even in the movies though, the businessman had called all the shots out of the money. Yeah. So I said, I want to be a businessman. I want to have money. I want to take care of my family. And then I said those words. I felt rebuked. I felt rebuked by God. And I'm 5 years old. And I thought about, I want to have money. I want to take care of my family, but I want to use business to help people somehow. And I was just trying to visualize what that would look like. Yeah. And so now we all old enough to know how things were before crack came, right?
Right.
My neighborhood, even though we was in the hood, but my block was like the suburbs inside the neighborhood, right? At that time, we were all from 2-parent households, right? Most of us. Our neighbors, our parents owned their own apartment building, rented out to other neighbors, right? Okay. So entrepreneurship was there.
Right.
I didn't know.
But you were able to experience it firsthand.
But
without even knowing.
No, because here's the thing. They didn't, going back to your point, like a dirty word, they didn't teach us that.
Yeah.
Now here we are, we have neighbors owning their own apartment buildings, renting out to other neighbors, own other businesses, but not teaching the kids business and entrepreneurship and money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had to learn that decades later when I'm in college as a young man.
Yeah.
So, and at the time you say, I'm going to start a business, your parents say, no, you're not. You're going to get a job.
You're going to get a job.
Then you're going to get up out of here.
Yeah, right.
And that always bothered me. Because one of the things I like, going back to those soap operas, that everyone lived under the same roof.
Yeah,
it was a big mansion, right?
Yeah.
But everyone had their own space, but they lived underneath the room. It was family. I said, I want to do that. Why do you have to rush your kids out? Let them take their time so when they leave properly.
Right,
great
good
foundation. Right?
Yeah.
So my wife and I, we both have that same mentality. Like, we have a son, he stay with us as long as he needs to stay with us. Because when he leaves, we'll make sure he leaves successfully.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
But, if they want to, get married and we all live on the same roof, that's fine by us, right? Mm-hmm. Because we'll have enough.
Right,
we'll have enough.
Right.
But anyway, so that's when I had that calling. But going back to the whole crack thing, when crack came, right before crack came, all our neighbors who own businesses moved away. The corner store folks on the store look like us.
Right.
Literally, one day they're there. Literally, the next day they were gone.
Yeah.
Replaced by Asian folks. I'm like, what happened? What happened?
Yeah.
Oh, they sold the business. No goodbye. No. They were just like, no.
Down in Florida somewhere.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, crack came.
Right.
And I'm convinced that
another layer.
if the entrepreneurs stayed in the community, we would have had a fighting chance against crack.
Yeah.
Right? Because they were the glue to everything.
Right. Yeah.
So that began to shape it kind of, all right, I'm starting to visualize now how I can impact the world by being an entrepreneur.
Right.
And then finally, when I got connected with, the program and became a teacher and trainer and program manager and then launched my own thing, I was like, my specific purpose behind being an entrepreneur is to lead multiple generations around the world to help make people's everyday life better while still profiting. Because you don't have to sacrifice profit to help people.
Right.
You don't have to sacrifice helping people to make profit. It's synonymous.
Yeah.
But centuries of business have taught the world, especially through folks who don't look like us, have taught the world that business is all about profit. If you happen to help somebody, then so be it. So I'm on a mission to show the world through generations of entrepreneurs who have the same philosophy that we can make the world better and still get our paper too.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
And so to this day, I only work with organizations and people who share that mentality. Right? And so that 5-year-old Nick is now realizing his dream and what was sparked into him when he was 5 years old.
Man, that's phenomenal. That's awesome. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And it's like you took, a lot of times we'll get that word or we'll get that message, no matter what age it comes to us. But it's almost like life itself, the fight with life, because it always seems like God is sending you back around to that purpose, regardless of no matter, you either gonna go the long way, the hard way, or the easy way. But that your calling is there always and whatnot. I feel, and I like that you stuck with it. You saw it. You've gone through your trials and tribulations, and you continue to grow with it and whatnot. So, how long have you been an entrepreneur now?
So. All right, so I always been, selling since I was 7 years old.
Right, I get that too.
Selling.
I get that too.
Right. So it's funny because I started selling.
You can be an entrepreneur and have a job or be going to school. So I know the life.
I've been selling since 7 years old. So we started out with newspaper subscriptions. Now, it wasn't the Post. So in D.C. area, we know the Post is the king of the papers in the area.
Right.
But I was selling the Washington Times. Right? Yeah. So that's a difficult sale.
You saying selling papers, you going back in time.
I know, right? Let's go, OG's here. But I was killing it, though.
Yeah.
You already got the Post, but then you got this cute little kid with this little smooth pitch, and next thing you know, they subscribe to the Post. To the Times, right?
Right.
But then I realized it was more money selling cookies and candy, so I started selling cookies and candy and making more profit. But it's something you mentioned, though, about sticking to it. Because I would tell ever since I had that moment when I was 5 years old, tell everybody, I'm a real entrepreneur, I'm a businessman, da-da-da. And they were like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But then you became a teenager, and then you start getting in the middle, cracking all that stuff. And then, when you're a teenager, especially a male, right, what's on your mind?
Yeah.
Girls, right? That's on your mind. And so you got to look fresh to get the girls, right?
Right.
And so that's, man, you got temptation, you got peer pressure. I mean, you got a lot. Peer pressure is real,
That's why a lot
man.
of folks got into the game because of the lifestyle more than what they thought they were doing to the community or wanting to be strung out themselves. It was just like, I just want to look good. You know what I'm saying? I want to, I get that.
And so, since I told everybody about what I want to do, it kept me from going down that path, except for one moment.
Okay.
And that is where now I'm probably 19, I guess. And so my family, I'm not naming any names, but my family on different levels, from kingpin level to on the block level in the game.
Right.
And so we was at one of my cousin's apartment out in Maryland, and so I was like, okay, which one I'm going to ask, right? So I'm being strategic. And so I said, okay, this one. And so I waited, and everyone was going in the living room to play Madden or something. I said, let me talk to you. He was like, what's up? I said, can you front me something? What you mean? Let me get in the game. He said, okay. Wait a minute. He called everyone back into the room. Ooh. Do you know what he just asked me? And they let me have it. Now I'm saying, what up? Y'all been a bunch of hypocrites. Oh, yeah, the game. Why you coming to me? And when he said,
they saw it in you, though.
Not you. You always talk about being a businessman ever since you were a little boy. Right? No, this is not for you. You're going to go ahead and do this. You're going to do that business. And these are my same, cousins and stuff was clowning me. But since I spoke my purpose every day and was convicted in that purpose,
that's right.
The time of my moment of weakness, my purpose saved me. Right? And so you talk about the power of purpose. When you know your purpose, even in your moment of weakness, the purpose can still carry you through.
Put you right back on track.
Right.
Man, that is awesome. That is awesome. Well, before we transition to take our commercial break, do you have any now they say content is king, and we are, in a very much digital age right now. Has your strategies changed much in terms of like the core principles that you've understood about business before, but now with this whole social media dynamic, how do you see it help people to still want to? It seems like it may be easier for us to live it out because we have so many things at our fingertips. But what is it like coaching folks around, now that we're in this social media market to, continue to be entrepreneurs, or is there a difference now with the social media?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny because I literally taught a training on social media today, this morning, converting likes into customers. And see that, well, my core stuff is the same, but it has evolved, right? Because you got to deal with the new media.
Right.
So it still comes back to core principles. Number one principle, prospecting. It's like it's a lost art. Right? Sales prospecting. How do you find?
Hold that thought.
Okay.
We about to get into some good. I knew I should have waited till after the break to ask that. But anyway, stay tuned. Coach Nic is going to come back for the second segment of Recover the Ball with Cowboy Chris. Thanks for coming along with the ride with me, family. We'll be back in a minute. Stay tuned. Back new cadence. Here we go. That's going viral the whole nine. So you're now rocking with Cowboy Chris and Recover the Ball, where we're going to be talking football. We're going to talk recovery and being at that intersection of healing, hope, and having a good time, folks. I want you to give me 15 minutes and then give me the last 15 minutes and then check out at least 3 episodes, and I'm sure you'll be convinced that this is the show that you want to rock with great Cowboys content. We'll be talking recovery, we're going to talk in life, because in life we're trying to not only root on our teams, and we're not only talking about recovery from substance abuse, we're talking about recovery. There's a lot of people out there trying to recover their dreams, trying to recover that hope, trying to recover that purpose, and we're going to do that here on Recover the Ball with Cowboy Chris. I'm going to have great guests, like my great guest I have here now, Karen. She's going to rock with me, and we're going to be doing great things here at Recover the Ball with Cowboy Chris. Tune in. Welcome back to Recover the Ball with Cowboy Chris. And as always, in our second segment, we go into our recovery side of the conversation. But we were having such a good time on the first segment. We're going to finish that up first before we go into that. But as always, we always talk about recovery because we know it's a lot of folks that we're going through stuff, whether we're recovering from illness or loss, whether we're recovering from addiction. And what we've been really talking about in the first half of the show is like recovering your purpose, your vision, and your dreams. Because once you take care of the first two, that's really what we want to get back, is to recovering that part of ourselves that help us to get out here and follow through on what our true calling is. Follow out on that vision and those dreams and those passions that you had as a little kid, but somewhere along the way got lost. But we're all trying to get back there. And that's what we want to do here at Recover the Ball. So I welcome back my partner here, Coach Nic, to the second segment of the show and whatnot, man. And we were talking about before we left, and I want us to finish the thought that we had before we get into the other parts of the conversation. You were saying that prospecting was a lost art in terms of a lot of the, now, because we're talking about now business, we have social media at our fingertips, and just the differences and the distinctions between being an entrepreneur now with this new arm to how we, conduct it. And just what distinctions are you seeing, or do the core principles stay the same? And then you were going into prospecting. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for nowadays businesses, entrepreneurs, so social media makes things very convenient for folks and everything.
Right.
But folks forget about social, it goes straight to the media. Right? Right? So it's putting content out there and say, oh, well, let's
thinking
put
about
it
the
out
show
there.
And not the business.
Exactly.
The show business.
And the thing about the social part is you're supposed to interact. Supposed to make it easy for you to interact.
Right.
Not just to put content out. So when you don't make a connection with your audience, like you hear me say it all the time, you don't want customers, you don't want clients, you want fans.
Yes.
Like you want fans of this show, just like you're a fan of the Cowboys.
Exactly.
But Jerry Jones, they don't want someone who's just a customer or watcher of the Cowboys. They want fans.
Yep.
The fans is gonna be paying for them luxury boxes, paying for those season tickets, buying the merchandise. The fans going to raise their kids up to be Cowboys, just like I was raised to be a Commander, right?
Fan. Yeah.
So why can't you extend that to your own individual business?
That's right.
If you're a bakery or you're in professional services or you're a landscaper, you want fans.
Yep.
But you got to connect. Why do you connect with the Cowboys? It's personal to you right now, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, I'm not the only Commander fan you had on your show. You got a little banner going on. So if someone talks sideways about the Cowboys, you're going to have a certain feelings about it.
Right.
Well, you want the entrepreneurs, you want folks to feel that way about your business.
Yeah.
So, how do you do that? You got to connect. And then it's talking about, well, I'm not making any money from social media, whether it's my podcast or whether it's just me just promoting my business through social media. Well, the lost art of prospecting. If you have, let's say you got 1,000 followers, and you say, well, hey, I need help getting more customers. I say, okay, let's start with your followers. I got 1,000. Okay, so right then and there, there's money there. There are people who are following you for a reason. Now, not everyone who's following you is a we call it avatar or your ideal customer. Right? But some people are. Start there. Reach out to them. Actually have a conversation. Hey, I noticed that you followed me 3 months ago. Sorry for taking so long to say hey, but hey, how you doing? Thanks for following me. How can, why did you follow me in the first place? And what's going to happen? They're going to be surprised and then happy that you reached out. Oh, shoot, Cowboy Chris. Hey, I've been following you. I've been seeing your show, and I like it. I'm a Cowboy fan, too. Or they might say, I'm a Commander fan, and I like just sending you hate.
Oh, no, that's big business. Some of my YouTubers I follow, there's one guy I follow, Vash Lombardi. Shout out to Vash. I mean, but he's so entertaining and so engaging. He has fans. He has Eagles fans. They all watch it because he's engaging. He's entertaining, just like you're saying. And he, people they're not even fans. He's a Cowboy fan. They're not even fans of the Cowboys. But like you say, they'll come there just to hate or just to tease and the rest, just because it's fun and it's engaging and whatnot.
Exactly. And so when you go and reach out and have a conversation with them, then you can then find out if they are the kind of folks that you're looking to sell to. And then you can then move that relationship from just them watching you to now a sales conversation that can lead to dollars and cents conversions. Right? That's prospecting there. How do you find folks who are most likely willing to buy your stuff? If you got followers, then you should be hitting them up individually and seeing, are they, the kind of folks who want to buy your stuff? Right? And so many businesses don't do that, and yet they still complain about, how do I get, more customers coming in? What kind of marketing strategies? How about you have a conversation?
Yep.
So
just reach out and touch somebody. Make it
so
easy
that's the
with
lost art of prospecting.
Yeah.
So don't skip social and go right to the media. Make your media social.
Nice. Hey, I like that.
They dropping dimes right here.
I like that.
Call them Nickisms. Nickisms here.
He got a bunch of them. One night.
Y'all copyrighted. Okay.
Indeed, my favorite one of yours is from back in the day when you used to ask the class was, who's the boss?
Right.
And everybody used to be like, well, who's the boss? I'm the boss. And well, you want me to tell them who the boss is?
See if you remember. See if you get it right.
The plan is the boss and whatnot.
Yeah, the plan is the boss.
The plan is the boss. So even as an entrepreneur, you do have a boss. Because, we were sitting there taking our notes thinking, okay, well, I'm going to be the big boss. And he was like, well, who's the boss? It's like, no, when you lay out your plan, that's the thing that guides you day to day, that you get into your planner, your daily planner. If you're not following that, then you probably not going to be generating the results that you want.
Exactly.
And that's the reason for tracking it in the first place.
Because the boss tells you what to do, right?
Yeah.
And so as an entrepreneur, literally you don't have a boss, but your plan is, because your plan, you put it together and you say, okay, after all my analysis and research and strategy, this is my best chance of success. So why wouldn't you follow your plan?
Right.
So at that point, once you create the plan, you're no longer in control. The plan is in control. You follow the plan. And guess what? If the plan's not working, then what do? You make adjustments. You don't scratch it. You just make adjustments and follow it. Right? And so then again, to your audience, how many of you got a plan? How you got a plan? If you're not a business owner, how you got a plan for your life? You got a plan for your finances. Got a plan for your relationships.
That's right.
Got a plan for your recovery.
Hey, now you talking about, I like how you did that. I like how you did that. And it's funny that you say that, because as a certified peer recovery specialist, that's what we do for folks in recovery. We sit down and it was a reason that kind of got me into the work, other than just my own personal recovery, but it was something I had a passion for all along. It was like, I always liked, your Les Browns, Tony Robbins. I like listening to folks, say something inspirational, motivational and whatnot. And when I looked at the coaching field, I was just like, oh man, I wouldn't mind doing that. And then through my own travels, wound up going through recovery. And then a guy came up to me, he was just like, he said, you ever think about doing recovery coaching? He said, coaching. And I was like, let me look at this. Let me see what you're talking about. But some of the same principles apply, just sitting down, making a plan. And most of the times when people stick to their plan, they're able to stick to their recovery and whatnot. So, and I guess it's a nice segue to another part of our show that we always have conversation. I always ask, the first thing I ask my recovery guest is, when you hear the word recovery, what comes to mind for you? Because recovery means so much to so many different people. But when you hear the word, what resonates with you and whatnot? I can imagine. No, I ain't gonna say anything. I'm gonna let you say. Let me see what you got from the blank slate and whatnot.
Okay, so recovery for most people usually is alcohol and drugs, right?
Right.
But it can be much more that you have to recover from.
Indeed.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll give you both perspectives, from alcohol and drug perspective, and then from a life perspective of recovery.
Gotcha.
Right. So my father was an addict, right?
Okay.
Recovery addict from drugs and alcohol, right? Wrecked out household. Okay, so we went from a two-family household to two-parent household, that is, to a single parent household. Put my mom through literally hell, right? And then my older brother as well, right? Great older brother, shout out to you, right? So he ended up getting his life together, recovering. He ended up becoming a major influence in DC, especially in DC recovery. That's why, how do you not know my father? He was like one of the OGs in recovery, right?
Yeah.
But also, because he worked for Catholic Charities, Daryl Colbert, I put it out there.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of folks that you wouldn't think, well, you would know this because you're in the recovery business, but you wouldn't think had, you know, recovery issues.
Yeah.
You know, politicians and business people.
We all over.
Right?
You never know who you're talking to. Yeah.
So he made a reputation of helping folks in power get through their recovery.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Yeah.
And he, you know, he helped a lot of lives, saved a lot of lives. So we were able to get some pride out of that, though. My older brother, he's much more forgiving than I am. So he reconciled, even though he went through more of what my younger brother and myself went through.
Yeah.
So I would think it would be the hardest for him, but he's more like, you know, what it is what it was, and just forgive and move forward.
Yeah.
For me, it was more difficult, right, to move past that. So my father died last year, I believe.
Okay.
And he relapsed, and that led to his death.
Okay.
He was in his home, I guess, about a week.
Yeah.
Body, you know, deteriorated and everything. He had the smell and everything. And so it was tragic to see that he, you know, what he went through, and then how he got it together, became a big staple and pillar in the community to that.
To relapse,
So you always have to be vigilant against it, your recovery.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Laying in wait, they call it.
Yeah, and you can't isolate the people that are there to support you.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
But at his funeral, which I was torn, you know, in terms of I was going to actually attend the funeral, and then also eulogize him as well.
Yeah.
So the brothers, you know, the older brother, I'm the middle, and then the young, we all did our eulogy. And I went first. I don't know why I went first, but I guess I got volunteered to go first. But I did this talk, and my mother is sitting there. She's now remarried since then. But she was sitting there, and I felt, if I'm being totally honest, I felt like maybe I was betraying her, eulogizing my father, and having and thinking about saying good things about him, knowing what she went through.
Right.
But I thought about the bigger picture. Is that first of all, she is there. She is there. She didn't have to.
Yeah.
She is there.
Right.
Right. So if she can reconcile with it, then who am I not to reconcile with it? Right. And so I gave this talk, and I acknowledged, you know, the stuff, but then I made it about, you know, his accomplishments. And the accomplishment, forget about whatever he did in terms of accolades, the people in that room, because the people in that church were people that he touched and helped change their lives. Right. And I believe when you're at someone's funeral, that's a time for you to just talk about the best of them rather than the worst of them. If you got to talk about the worst of them, then don't attend. Right?
Yes.
And so these folks, regardless of how he was, because we humans, so we all got our flaws. Some are worse than others. Some are better than others. But he was what he needed to be, what God needed him to be to touch the lives of these people, to get them through their recovery. And so they won't relapse. Right. And they can be better fathers and mothers, aunts and uncles, and be great pillars of community. I see people who were there. You know, he got acknowledgement from the mayor, from city council people. So people who run their own recovery organizations, people who help folks who are incarcerated, who became, you know, back into the population. He touched a lot of lives. And so, how dare I not celebrate that? So I gave this speech, which a lot of people thought it was very eloquent and moved folks. And so you think about recovery from drugs and alcohol to recovery of hurt and pain.
And I just want to say, like, and that's, you know, as you were sharing that, I thought that was huge, just in terms of like realizing how, as I was saying, I said to somebody earlier that, like, you know, the person that maybe that's affected by the drug or the loss that's initially part of the recovery, they're going through it, their own challenges, but it affects so many things around it. So it's like the whole family's going through it, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. You know what I'm saying? And and I really commend you on showing up for your father like you did. It's funny because I had that same exact thought. I went to a funeral, very similar circumstance, for a friend of mine not too long ago. But that was the thought I had then. I was just like, no matter what may have been thought of them previously or, but they touched so many lives and, it's over now. You know what I'm saying? Let's bid them a farewell, and edify the positive of it all versus no matter what judgment I have or anybody may have, but how do we let that go so that we can, reconcile and move forward even in death, you know what I mean? And so, man, I commend you for that, whatnot, big time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And so then now in a personal situation, so, this is not my story to tell, so I can just tell what part of it that I can. So have a loved one, went through life-threatening illness, and so I'm the primary caretaker. And as an entrepreneur, so you're not an employee, right? You can't say, call it, all right, look, I'm gonna take leave of absence.
Right.
I'm gonna use my leave.
There's no FMLA that you
ain't
can
no
apply
leave, ain't none of that, right? You do it at your peril, right? And so, and a lot of times for entrepreneurs, you don't know if you're fully, properly insured. But a lot of times you're underinsured.
Okay.
So then, medical costs here in this country is crazy.
Yeah.
It can just wipe you out like that.
Yeah.
And so, I was getting to a good place financially, and then boom, it's like crash, right?
Yeah.
And so, trying to figure out, okay, how can I take care of this loved one and still sustain the business so the business can sustain us, right?
Wow.
So recovery of finances.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's a journey, right? So whether you started a business and you lost it all, or you had something happen that took it all or whatever. So how do you deal with that? So how did I deal with that? Is that, first of all, I'm a very super prideful person, right? I do not like asking for help. It literally pains me. I physically feel pain when I have to ask for help. But I made a decision that I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes, you really know who's in your corner, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to max out those friendships. Like, look, I know this is a lot I'm asking of you.
Yeah.
And this is extra patience, and I know it's impacting you financially, but I need this. Can you help me with this? Can you give me an extra month here, extra week here?
Yeah.
Right? Because, this is what's happening.
Right.
And a lot of times you still don't want to fully say what's going on because it's still personal and everything.
Yeah.
But I've learned to be, I knew this. What I decided, I evolved to become more humble to ask for help.
There we go. There we go.
Right? To ask for help.
Yeah.
And thank God I did, because now I'm able to come out on the other side of it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm starting to recover financially.
Nice.
Just make a lot, high income means nothing if your expenses are higher than the income.
The income, yeah.
Right?
Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
How about that?
So,
Yeah.
and that's frustrating because you see all this money you generate and then you see you got nothing left over. Like, what in the world is going on?
I did all this and that.
Yeah, it's like,
Back at-
like I'm working for free. Like the worst, and I'm going in a hole on top of that.
Yeah.
But, so you look at God, okay, what are the lessons learned here? What do I need to do? You just started. You never stop thinking. Never stop thinking. Keep thinking through the situation, through the problem.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The times that I really suffered or failed is when I stopped thinking through the problem.
Okay.
So when I keep thinking through the problem, the solutions is always there.
Yeah.
Now, some of the solutions, again, might hurt your pride and you don't want to do it. But the solution is there.
Yeah.
Move it to the side
Yep.
Keeping focused what the priorities are, and then you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you recover, if you got borrowed from here and there, whatever, once you pay it back, then you bless the people who bless you.
Yeah, restoration.
Right?
Yeah.
You bless them. You help me get through it. So now here you go.
Yeah.
Right? This is just from my heart to yours.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's a cycle. That seems like that's life in and of itself. You know how, say each one reach one, but we're all like in a siphon, in a circle, and sometimes it's going to be time for you, to give a little bit more than you get at times, and then sometimes you need to receive a little more. And I think, the challenge for a lot of people is that learning how to receive, and like you say, ask for help. I know that was a big challenge for me, but I always find in those instances when I do ask for help, I mean, sometimes that's why I'm in tears, because it's just like, dang, I asked and I received, and it's almost bearing witness to my faith in those moments that like, hey, your higher power tells you you're not by yourself all the time. Then you forget and you hide in this little corner and you wait, and it's like, okay, I need to ask for help. Anybody gonna help me? And then you get blessed, and it's just like, oh, I knew God was good all the time, but it's just like, no, you need to be in that, exercise that muscle just frequently so that you don't have to, be waiting until things are like you pinned against the wall before you're asking and you're receiving and you're keeping a good cycle and flow of the blessings, amongst those that you love and whatnot. But you seem like, and to me, and as you were saying it, I felt like that was part of your challenge, is to say, okay, I know you're prideful, but I need you to open up your mouth now. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else needs to hear you ask, or maybe just see you ask, so that they know that it's okay to ask, so that they can continue on their journey and assist people, the way they got to.
And then for me, it was doubly challenging because, okay, I'm this business coach, I'm this performance coach and everything. So how come you need money? How come you need this? But life happens to everybody.
Every last one of us.
Right?
Ain't none of us exempt.
So it's not about what you know. It's about you being human, and that it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Right? But the added pressure of the pride of, so you have the professional pride coupled with the personal pride, right? The natural pride, which makes it doubly hard. But because I had one person who's in my network, actually a client of mine, was like, it's not a good look to just talk about your needs and everything. And I said, look, good look or not, I'm asking for help. Okay? Now, if I'm just being transparent about why I need the help, but if you're going to judge me, then you go ahead and judge me then. Right? What matters to me is getting this need met to get me through, and then when we get it through, I can reconcile whatever damage to my reputation. But it shouldn't be any damage to my reputation, because I'm being human. I'm just saying this is what the situation is. I need help. And so for your audience out there who maybe like me, it's difficult to ask for help, ask for help, because at the end of the day, we're on this planet to serve each other.
Yes, we are.
Right? We're on this planet to serve each other. And what does it do for you when you ask for help and you receive it? Then it makes you a better giver. So you got two types of givers. You got the giver who gives when the need is brought, when someone asks for something, and you have the giver who's proactive. In tune, Chris. I noticed, certain things, this talk, here's boom. Right? So the proactive giver makes it easier for the person it's difficult to ask. But then you got to look at what's the quality of your relationships. How connected are you? So when we talk about connect to your customers, being fans, are you a fan of your friends?
It's more than business principles, it's life principles.
Exactly. How connected are you to your friends and family? Right? So you can be proactive in meeting their needs without them asking. So so those are some of the lessons I learned to help me, start to get on the other side of that thing.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah. Man, Nick, I'm so glad that you came out today, because I knew it would be a dynamite episode anyway, because whenever we get together and whenever, you get to talking and sharing your gift, man, a lot of people get blessed. And so I wanted to make sure that my Recover the Ball family got blessed with some of your wisdom and your pearls of wisdom, as they say, and whatnot. So
Nickism.
Nickism. There we go. All right. Do you have any? Where can people find you? I guess let's get the shout outs out there.
All right. So CoachNicDC.com. That's NIC, no K. So NIC. So Coach Nic DC as in District of Columbia .com, and you can hit me up on there, any social media at Coach Nic DC. So just go to the website. You can find me. My office is based in the historic neighborhood of Eastern Market, DC, right? And just hit me up if I can be able to help in any kind of way, whether it's with your career or as an entrepreneur or just helping you just kind of get your life together.
Indeed. Awesome sauce, awesome sauce. Well, Recover the Ball family, we're coming to the close of this show for this month. And we got another show airing on the second Monday in April as well. Recover the Ball family, this is such a joy. I'm just having such a good time when I bring on phenomenal guests like my man here, Nick, and he's such a big inspiration to me. I remember calling him and telling him, I'm in the game now. I've been telling him for a long time. I'm like, okay, I gotta get in the game, but I wanted everything to be just right. You know what I'm saying? I was perfectionist or just, my own pride, worried about what it was going to look like and that whole nine. But as I told a friend of mine, I said, I'm going to throw my hat over the fence to go figure out how to go get it. And that was getting with Vision and Purpose Media Productions, where we film at every day. Thanks again, Karen and Wesley, for doing phenomenal work with me. I told them what I wanted to do. They've been doing phenomenal work for me there. And it's not perfect. As you can see, we still a work in progress and whatnot.
Nothing is.
But I've been having some great shows, been getting some great feedback. And I really see this show growing, and I'm so grateful because I've had people like you in my life to say, hey, get in the game. And as you were saying before, think it through. Just, it'll come to you. Just keep following your purpose, follow what you think you need to be doing, and you'll get it. So you have any final thoughts, any Nickism you want to leave the family with?
Well, I'll leave with this. My favorite one is, your gift will make room, so trust your gift. Whether it make room in the workplace or the marketplace, trust your gift because it's important. People want it. It's necessary. People need it. And it's sufficient, meaning it's enough to meet the need. So trust your gift, and it always will make room for you.
Your gift will make your room, family. That's it for Recover the Ball. Appreciate y'all coming out, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. Take care, everybody. Peace.